Okay, can you introduce yourself and tell me about your cultural identity?
Okay, hi, my name is Jonathan Jacob, and I'm a freshman. Let's see, my cultural identity.
Defining cultural identity is a daunting task. As I interviewed John, I realized that you cannot define identity by focusing on one aspect. Instead, you must look at all the components of a person's story. From place of birth to family life to language to physical appearance, no one component can be understood in isolation. This interview is John's story.
My cultural identity. I don't feel like I have a particular identity that I associate myself with. I tell people I'm from Indonesia just because I was born there, but I feel like there's more to it than that. So I was born in Jakarta, Indonesia, but at the age of 6 I moved to Singapore, and I returned to Indonesia at the age of 8, and then at the age of 12 I moved to China, and I stayed there for 3 years before moving to California.
Someone asked, "Where are you from?" What do you say?
I always tell them I'm from Indonesia, but I always feel the need to tell them that I've been to many different places. Just because I was in Indonesia, but I was within the Chinese minority. So there's that distinction between the native Indonesians and the Chinese Indonesians. We have different values, and yeah, but I like to identify myself as like a global citizen. A global citizen is someone who's not is not someone who does not have an identity, but someone who has multiple identities. I moved to the US 3 years ago, where I got my US citizenship, and so I began to have this thought like, wait, I'm from Indonesia, but I moved to the US, now I'm a US citizen, like what does that make me? So I decided that I was like a global citizen because I've moved to so many places. I've connected, not just temporarily moving there for like 2 months. I've lived there for years, and I've connected with that place. I've had like friends that I met there, and I've immersed myself in these different cultures, and so I believe that I don't have one identity that I associate myself with. When people ask me here where I'm from, I tell them like I'm from Indonesia, and because one thing they always say that it's more exotic than, oh, I'm from California, but at times when people say, oh, I'm from New York, I'm from like Connecticut, I felt the need that I'm a citizen of my state, California. So when I'm in Indonesia, people automatically say, "Oh, you're Chinese," because of my outer appearance. And however, when I'm in China, and from my dialect, they will think I'm Indonesian. What I'm trying to say is that I consciously identify myself as different nationalities in different places. All right. So when I first moved to the U.S., I feel like a foreigner because like I don't know who I couldn't find any friends at first because I don't know how to interact because I'm constantly moving. I don't know, like in different places you interact with people in different ways, and so I'm trying to assimilate myself in the American public school. So one day we were talking about our roles in our friend group, and I asked everyone, okay, so he's obviously the ladies' man. He's obviously the jock, and etc., etc. And then when it came to me, everyone just said, "You're the foreigner," and I said, "What? Like I can't be the funny one?" And so like I felt really like even though these are my good friends, I felt like they still know that I'm not one of them. Okay, so my name is very unique to me. Jonathan Jacob. And funny story, when I first came to the U.S., I told my class that my name was Jonathan Jacob, and then someone just started saying like John Jacob. I'm like, yeah, I guess you could call me John, and then they all started singing the John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt song, and I thought like, wow, like all these American kids, they were expecting me and they wrote a song just for me. And how that name came about was in 1997, there was like a racial persecution of Chinese people in Indonesia. My dad in particular, he had to change his last name because our Chinese names was in Chinese. It was originally Ye, Y-E, and so like the native Indonesians, they if they found out, like they would be more suspicious of us, and they would, a lot of us were killed, and so we had to change our name to Jacob, and so like that name itself is like a very strong identity. It's like I'm stripped of my Chinese identity at times, but yeah.
The definition of cultural identity is not a standard dictionary definition, but rather a complex mosaic of ideologies, history, heritage, and connections. For John Jacob, identity is his name, his home, his friends, his experiences. Cultural identity is everything that makes him who he is.
Alright, my name is Jonathan Jacob, and I'm a global citizen.